27, the amateur scene esports. Again, esports has been a very growing business for the last couple of years, and there has been a lot of new up and coming players since esports has been blowing up. Mostly youngsters, somewhat veterans who have been in the amateur scene for a while, get an opportunity, and we kind of want to see what the amateur scene is like currently for kind of the players who are still trying to get to the top. Now today we have a guest, as always, and we'll let the guest introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name's Dan, but some people know me as EMP3, and I play competitive Rainbow Six.
How long have you been playing competitive Rainbow Six? Curious.
So really since the start of year three, so when Line and Finker came out, I've been floating around it. So I've been doing some like comp cups and a couple of go fours, and then when I can, I just try and like do as many tournaments as I can to get more experience.
Nice. I'm just curious what the go for is. That's every week. I'm now. I
Yeah,
think Do you think it's
yeah,
the
go
best way to
fours.
kind of prove yourself?
I
Well,
think Go Fours is really that's the main like platform to like show who you are. Comp Cups, it's really you can mess around in those because there's not really like credits or anything on the line. But Go Fours, it's rare. You've got champions playing, you've got some of the big names on Xbox playing, and you can prove to the whole Xbox community who you are and how good you are.
nice. So for the opening type of question, what do you think of the next generation consoles being announced? You know, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, and also your six invitational predictions, or who do you think is going to win the six invitational?
So I think for the Six Invitational, I think nobody will have a very solid idea who's going to win because you've got the invite still needs to be announced, and that could change everybody's opinion on who's going to win. So teams that could maybe get the invite would be like Team Secret, G2, and loads of other teams. And those are the like really top teams. Like Secret have been doing well. Like they beat, I can't remember who they beat in a Raleigh Major, but they went far, and especially for a Challenger League team, they went really far, and it was really good. G2 obviously won last year's Six Invitational, so they've really got like to keep their honor, really you could say, because they lost the Raleigh Major, they didn't qualify for Japan, and really, in my opinion, if they get the invite, it would be like a pity invite. Like, you lot were the last world champions. You can come back and try and defend your title. Like, it would be a lifeline for them. And for the new gen consoles, I think they are really good. Like, I think the PS5, I think will be up there with like maybe like almost with like a PC maybe, but like maybe like an average PC. And then same with the Xbox as well, even though it looks like a mini fridge a little bit. I think the new gen consoles are coming closer and closer to PC. But I think people still go for PCs because obviously that's where loads of like you can do loads more stuff on PCs instead of consoles.
I think, sorry. For the next generation consoles, I think kind of from what we looked at the specs, they do compete with the PCs a little bit, especially with the Series X and how like those kind of those memory and the RAM and all that, they look really impressive. Like I feel like you're gonna have those 4K consistent graphics. Maybe I don't know how it's gonna be because imagine how what TV size you have, but
Yeah, I just have
I
really
think there's potential.
yeah, I think what everyone's hoping for with the new generation of consoles is that higher FPS because obviously with with this generation consoles you are really stuck at 60 FPS, and I think people want to like want more FPS, like maybe even 75. If 75 would be fine. If anything, try and get to 100, and then that will like improve everything, and it might actually get people to actually buy the new generation consoles instead of just sticking with the old ones.
Makes sense. Um, I think now we're gonna Six Invitational. I've, I, it's like you mentioned, yeah, it could be anyone because you can't really decide for a good team. Like, last year it was basically you can expect G2 to win because of how good they were in those last 6 months. They won a minor. They won the Pro League season finals. In Brazil, they won the Paris Major. But like you can't decide for a team anymore.
I
Like you
think,
can look at the
yeah, yeah, I think
go.
E, EU and NA, they've gone closer together. NA's actually got really good players now compared to last year. So you've got now Bolo in the team now. You've got Bolo on TSM, and I think when that got announced, I think that's when people were saying NA could have some potential here instead of EU just racing ahead. And G2, they're all right team, but I think new teams have been just taking them down because now you've got BDS, Navi, um, Rogue, which was ex Vodafone Giants. You've now got those
Mm.
teams, and they're taking the spot that G2 had for the first 2, maybe 3 years of Siege.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. And you got Empire in the mix too. Kind of as going as the recent Rally Major champions. But I think for that, I think I still got. I'm gonna go with Empire. I think
Yeah, I think,
when
yeah.
again
Especially,
you win a major, it's gonna give you a higher chance than like the last 6 months, whatever the case is.
yeah, and also I think at the start for the start of season 11, they've actually been really good so far. They've won their first 2 games, so they're at the top of the score, at the top of the table at the moment in season 11 EU. So that should give them at least a good morale going into group stages at Six Invitational, and then I think that they'll get through groups with these, and then that should just set them up for a win.
Um, what team could be the shocker? Like from those 15 teams announced, which team do you think could have a shocking chance to get into at least a semifinal?
I think one of the APAC regions. One of the APAC regions. Maybe Aerolf,
That
which
is
now,
that's Giants now.
yeah, Giants now, yeah, Aerolf now Vodafone Giants. They've got chances, they got a chance. And maybe even Navi. Like, they did win Season 10, especially with Pi now, now Pi taking Loki's place whilst Loki's banned. I think because they already have a good chemistry, so it's just really trying to get the practice in and just kind of overcome everything that's happened in the last 2 play days in Pro League, and would have a very good chance of winning.
Yeah, makes sense. I think I gotta go with Space Station. I think you
Hey,
look
maybe.
at U.S. Nationals; they looked pretty. They won the qualifiers pretty easily. I think that's a very strong team. You got a lot of Canadian Force, a lot of veterans on that team. Rampy, Dick and Dade. They almost beat G2 last year, and like they got a map against G2 in the quarters. So I think that's where you have your highest chance going now with G2. Like, if you maybe G2 is not in the mix. They have they're probably the NA's highest hopes. I can't think of
Yeah,
Dark Zero being that. I
yeah,
don't.
I think, yeah,
Maybe you.
Darkster have been choking on lands. They've been choking on lands for the past since, I would say since Milan. They've been choking on lands. Like, the online season has been amazing, but their land performance has been really not that good, in my opinion.
That's. I don't know. Just that's feel like where you gotta go with NA's hopes. So let's get into the main topic. What do you think of the personalities currently in the amateur scene? Now, this is from your from what you think, your overall opinion, and what you have experienced. So we can go from that.
I think personalities really here is really just we have a lot of egos. You could say we have a lot of egos because it's very competitive. So we have a lot of egos just in the amateur scene. But there's a lot of people that are just good, and they're also like they're good, but they don't really take the piss really. They don't take the piss about like them being good. They just say, "Yep, that's me. I'm that person. If you might be worse than me, but I'm not going to take the mick out of you about you being bad." So I think there's good and bad sides to this scene.
I kind of think the same thing. I think with the amateur scene, you want to be the top. You want like maybe not an Xbox scene. Well, for this game, but just imagine that like a PC setting. Like you're a PC player, you're gonna have that ego because you want to win, you want to do good, and you know, there's gonna be a lot of blame at teammates. This is why I can't make it to the top because of you and all that, and that's where we go. And I think people really not realizing. I think one thing that people need to realize is you're not this. You might be a talented player, you might have the good shot, but what difference can you make to the team? Yeah, you can kill people, but what else can you do besides that? What can you do to help the team perform with your
Yeah,
strengths and all that?
I think
So
that
that's
yeah,
you
killing
know
in this game really isn't everything because it's not everybody has to die for you to win around. Literally, with me, I'm a support and really flex player. So between I move between like say playing shields to going say like a fragger. Like sometimes I've been playing Ash in just scrims and competitive games just to because I'm just a flex player and I just work around the roles that we need and the operators that we need to make sure that we win. So it's
yeah,
not
that's right.
yeah
Just kind of find the mix, but again, you're not gonna find the perfect team every time. Like people
yeah
respect. Like this team's got it. It's not because you don't have that team chemistry, and that's hard for amateur players because again, they all want to be in the top, so you're not gonna find that perfect team chemistry or immediately. And if they expect it to be really quick, they expect you to learn at a high pace, and if it doesn't work out once, then boom, that's it. It's not gonna work. So that's kind of the problem you have here, where it
yeah.
feels like just I don't know. You expect everything to be perfect off the rip. But you kind of expect it, especially everyone wants to be in the top, so that's why you kind of expect those egos.
I
But
think
again,
any game you play, there will be this one person who has a massive ego saying that they're the best and they're the best at everything and they should be in the best team with the best players and like have to like be with the best teams and like best orgs as well. But they need to remember that it's not all really always about like you and like it's about what the team thinks of you because if the team think that you're like just really egotistical and they really they wouldn't have to take you. Like, they wouldn't have to take you and it's just I think you could be you can have a bit of like boasting a bit but you've got to remember that you need to stop. You need to stop at a certain point because that's when it will just get really, let's say, just rude. Like once it goes past the rude point, it'll be very hard for you to even just find a team to play with in Go For's, not even like proper competitive level.
now next question after you is what do you think the typical esports player will be like in 2 to 3 years?
Um, Much better than I'll say this year's because obviously this game's evolving, every single game's evolving, and especially with the new decade,
Oh, sorry,
they'll
amateur esports player. I don't know
yeah,
him.
amateur esport play in 2 to 3 years. Again, just literally, everyone's gonna be evolving. Everyone's gonna be evolving to just everything. And once, let's say, 2 to 3 years, I think that it will get very competitive. Like, it will be really hard. It will be really hard in just even like community tournaments just to win, because you'll then have everybody will know everything, and when that happens, it's going to be very fun, especially for viewers, just to watch the games unfold. And once that happens, I think that esports will be probably better than, let's say, football, or even, yeah, football would be better than football.
Yeah, you do have a lot of potential from up and coming players, with especially with the youth. Um, and that's the great thing about it. But I don't know. I think you're kind of right in that. It's gonna expect the player to grow and grow, and I feel like once this becomes more of a business, um, I think the thing with esports is it's very sloppy at the moment with like how the business side. There's a lot of shady stuff. So once it becomes like more professional, like a real job, like just say like a nursing job, or you go to maybe like law or police officer, like once it becomes a serious job where you have to make sure it works. And it's the thing about esports is it's just you have to perform at a high level consistently. And you have to be juiced up, you have to be ready. And that's what you get out of those amateur players, because they are always hungry. A lot of them are very hungry to win. They are hungry to prove themselves that they are a top player. And that's where you have to kind of go from that. C from that is they're going to kill themselves with C4. But I think that's where you gotta go. And the story there is they have to prove themselves. They're hungry to win, and it will make the game more interesting when you see that up and come talent who people doubted and who has worked hard, make a big change this scene and get a lot of popularity because of his drive. And that's what amateur, it's better to work, playing competitive video games than working at a 9 to 5 job. So that's kind of what.
It's not even really 9 to 5. It's 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is.
So that's where you have to go from it, and I feel like that's where you see improvement in the scene. Next question I have for you is, this might seem like an odd question, but do you think non-top amateur players are at a bigger disadvantage due to the lack of high quality equipment than other pros have?
Well, not really. So really, it's not about always having the best PC, best keyboard, best mouse, best everything. It's because that I want to say, if you even like, say if you got like an average computer that can play Siege right, and let's say a decent mouse and and maybe like not a gaming keyboard, just a normal keyboard, you can still do amazing with or without it. And it's not about always having like the best, like also with orgs, it's like they kind of like glorify it. It's like, don't know how to explain about it. It's literally, you don't need the best you just don't need like top tier stuff. You can really do average stuff. We can burn people in this game with it. It's not always about having always the best gear. It's just really good game sense and just good communication. That's it.
I think I'm gonna say, yeah, you can prove yourself even with the shitty keyboard and like not expensive items. You can have like a $40 headset and you can still do good because you know how to play. Even if you can't really hear the cap go around the corner sometimes, but that's a different story. I think the big thing that could ruin it, I think there is a little bit of a disadvantage, and that is your internet connection. Especially in a game like Siege where it feels like you should hit a headshot, although it doesn't really register because of how slow your internet is. And I feel like a lot of gamers, if you don't have the greatest internet, like you don't have like a maybe, let's say like a 50 megabyte megabyte download speed or something like that, you're such a big disadvantage already because your ping will be kind of really high a lot of times. And it's just gonna suck. It's just gonna be a sucky experience, especially when you go up against those top tier players, like in the GO4s, where you got, you're playing against 5 champions,
Yeah.
and you feel like you're shitting on him. Like he just takes one. Like you feel like you were so prepared. You shoot for it, like you're so prepared, and boom, you die because it's the bad internet connection. Because his internet seems like a lot faster. So I think that's where the issue is. But I think as technology improves over time, I think there, even if you don't have the top tier internet, you don't have that really 100 gigabyte download speed that people are expecting in the future. That's where it will be the biggest flaw, and that's could be a deteriorating a lot of top prospects because of the frustration that they feel like they should be destroying these kids because of the aim and game sense, but it doesn't happen because of the internet. So, but I'm expecting that to improve over time. Next question.
Yeah, I think it's just the internet really.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. As long as you got internet, it's also about where you live as well because if you live in like a rural area, your internet won't be as good because it's not with urban areas. Obviously, you're in a lot of competition with other internet service providers, and you've got to really, I want to say, you've got to do your research if you're gonna get new internet. Because say if you go for say if you've gone for the same internet company the since you were younger, like say your mum used AT&T for example, and now you've moved out your competitive esports player, you're playing competitively, and you stick with AT&T, but it's say you've moved to a different state, and then you've got to really do your research because if you don't, then you could end up with, let's say, two upload, two download speed internet, and that would that would probably kill your chances, or at least kill them for at least a couple of years.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
But
I used to
two,
have that in the past. I used to have that in the past where it was that same speed, and it was horrible because I couldn't even play
yeah,
in the winter time because of like
yeah.
how slow it was. But that's gonna be a big thing. Next thing I have for you is, do you think there has been a concern of teenagers putting focus on developing the talent on video games instead of worrying about their future in case shit goes wrong?
I think this is just my opinion. You've got to put education first. You've got to put your education first, and then you put esports because if you say for because this is a very competitive market, you could be. It's like with Panics and BDS. You could be qualifying for the 60th Invitational, your life being amazing, then within a couple of weeks you're out of the team and someone's taking your spot. You need to have at least have one backup plan. So at the moment I've got my mock exams, which are like exams that practice for our finals, which are next year. And I've always put that first before any sort of siege or any sort of game at all. Because if I don't make it in a if I don't make it into a competitive team, say playing like Challenge League or Pro League within when I'm 18 or older, at least I've got a backup plan to at least make some sort of money whilst, well, at least keeping myself alive whilst, trying to become more competitive and get into a team. Because if you do not have that backup plan, that's it, you're done. You
Yeah,
just need,
I think it's a big thing people have to realize. I think it hasn't been an issue too much. Actually, I'm gonna disagree on that. I think that has been a thing because a lot of a lot of new Rainbow Six players, they have been 18, 19, or like 19 years old. That's usually a common age where you see a lot of these new stars come in the mix. Maybe a couple players on E United, Tempo Storm, where it's a situation that seems interesting because of how young they are, but I think the lucky part is they worked for that since a young age. They have been competing for a year. They took that time off college to compete, and they lucky they made it. But for those other players who took a job drop, you know, who actually quit college to compete Siege, and they wasted a year because they didn't get the opportunity to make it to Challenger League and prove all that. So that's where I feel like players have to realize. I think just kind of as the population gets younger, I think there has to be a more development. I think one they could do is decrease the age of competitive play, because 18, having an 18, yeah, it's a mature age. But the thing is, that's a horrible time because you're waiting 2 to 3 years. You're a talented 15, 16-year-old kid, but you're waiting so many years because of your age. And by the time you hit 18, boom, you're already in college. You're starting school. You're gonna get kicked out of your house by your parents. It sucks. But if you do it at 16, at least you got 2 more years of high school. You can start. At least you have 2 years of competitive experience where you can make money as a 16-year-old, 16, 17, 18-year-old. That's what Rocket League does, because Rocket League has a lot of young players who are 16, 17, who make big contracts, and it doesn't really affect their school too much. Again, so
Yeah,
I think that's where the change has to be with that
and
age. Yeah.
especially in Siege because it's an 18. I think if this game was, let's say, 16, for example. This game was 16, and ESL allowed 16-year-olds to play. This game would be one of the most competitive games out there. Maybe even on par with CS:GO, but not above it, because CS:GO's been around since I can't even remember. Maybe even before I was. When was CS out? Because I think CS came out maybe
2012 for CS:GO,
12.
CS series. I
I
don't
was
know.
about
That might
five.
it's around
I
that
think
area.
I was born in 2005, so I was about 6, 7 years old when it came out. Maybe, yeah, 6, 7. So, and that game is probably one of the most competitive first-person shooters on the market right now. It's one of the most competitive first-person shooters, and I think Siege can be there, but obviously they need to fix first of all some really important things before we can get there. Because this game is really buggy at the moment, and it's not helping anything.
I think, yeah, CS:GO also has a lot of players. I think CS:GO, you mentioned that game, they do have players who are 16, 17. One player I think I really probably never heard of him. For complexity, Obo, he's like 15 or 16. He's playing the Siege for a really competitive NA organization. Another player, there's a couple of players, one player for ENCE, and also another one for Fnatic. They're 16, 17. They already career kind of set out already. With Siege, with CS:GO and stuff, and they have the talent to play. At such a young age, hey, at least they still got school to go, and they can make a decent amount of money before they can just say this screws up. At least you have a decent amount of money to make off it, to help with school and education and your family and all that. If things don't fully pan out. So that's kind of the great thing with that. But yeah, where the CS:GO scene is, and it's very young in players. So there's a lot of development in that scene. But I think Rocket League is kind of the most important with age. Call of Duty, I played that a lot. They have 18. There's a lot of games with 18. So I think that's where that's needs to be improvement. Next question I have for you is, with franchising being prevalent in League of Legends, Overwatch, and COD at the moment, I'll explain what franchising is. What effects do you think franchising does for the amateur scene? So franchising is where you pay in a set amount of money to keep your spot. So there's no relegations. No relegations. It's you pay a certain amount of money, and it gets TV sponsors and that big organizations. So it's like you guys have Premier League and soccer. There's relegations and all that.
Yeah.
So and we have the ML. Just I've seen. We have the MLS. There's no relegations. People pay a set amount of money to keep their spot and represent the city.
Yeah. Okay,
So.
so personally, okay, yeah, carry on.
Oh no, no, you can continue.
Personally, that's
Just.
bad. It's really bad because it's kind of because with franchising, if you're paying to keep your spot in, and say if CJ has franchised them, and you pay to keep your spot in Pro League, that would probably be, and if Ubisoft ever decide to do that, that'd be one of the worst decisions they'll ever make in like just for Siege, because this game is it's just too competitive to have franchising. Teams teams, they have like a certain chemistry, and if that you take that, say if you take one person away from that, it could ruin their whole team. Especially if like roster moves to move to a higher team. Relegations, it just proves that it will just say that, oh, it's your time to go. Basically, it's because with EU scene, the EU scene's way too competitive, and if there was ever some sort of franchising or somewhere where you pay to have your spot in Pro League, it would just wouldn't work. It would ruin the entire competitive scene entirely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really harmful for those amateur players. Yeah, I think it's harmful. I don't know. I like for franchising being in the place because again, you want to include more and more fans into the scene. You want to include more of the public into that scene. But it matters on what game it is. I think if franchise again, it's the start of franchising. So there's a lot. It just recently started. Like League of Legends did, Overwatch did it first. We got city-based League of Legends, and now you got Call of Duty in the mix. If this league doesn't work, especially with how you have to travel all over the place for the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League, we have to travel across the U.S., EU regions to play matches, and it gets really stressful. And they had organizations, investors had paid 25 million to get a spot. They might not think it's worth the investment, and it feels like there has to be some restrictions to the league and all that, where I feel like just having one place to base it on. Yeah, that's not the point, because fans with the city format in Overwatch and Call of Duty, people want to see those players live. That's one of the hidden abilities with esports is it's hard. It's not everywhere. You go to Rainbow Six, for example, since we're kind of playing that. You have two big tournaments per year, six invitations, always in Montreal, and then you have the mid major, which this year took a rally, but that's kind of it. You also do have the Pro League finals. So actually, sorry, four, kind of majors. So you only have four opportunities to kind of see Rainbow Six.
Yeah, that's just.
And
I think that's just for ESL, and then obviously you've got DreamHack, OGA. We had the Allied eSports, minor in Vegas as well.
yeah,
And really, it's just
okay.
kind of go fors. Go fors if you're not competitive, then Pro League if you're like a really big pro and you're in a Pro League team. It's really
But
the only time.
I don't know. Yep. But I don't know. It's hard to really decipher that because again, it's the start. So, but if franchising turns out to be successful in the next 5 years, we could see more and more games get into it. Um, it feels like if it improves the market. But again, the good thing about it is you can, some people, how it's like regular sports. It's better. Sometimes it's better to see it live. Well, see it live than watch it. I don't know. Some cases, if, you know. So, but the thing about esports is it's great to see it, watching it live and seeing it live. So hopefully, if that they have and just trying to get it out to the public, um, but will be the big thing for the scene of the amateurs. But with with franchises and overall, but with amateurs, it's really big hard because it's hard to get it's really hard to get recognized in these days, and that's where the thing is. But hopefully it gets a lot better. So next question I have for you is so actually we're gonna kind of skip the academy question. What do you think of college esports coming into the scene recently? Could it be a more preferred option for youngsters in the near future?
Um, so college esports, I would say, with college esports, that is at least one way to make students focus on college but still pursue their career in esports. Especially now where you've got things like Fortnite, everything that people would love to play, and they want to play competitively, but also their parents want them to focus on college. I think that's one way to at least give like at least a mixture of both of them at the same time, and I think also it can give you a lot of more insight into the actual esports scene. So of just playing games, like you learn maybe like the I want to say like the maybe like the deep down parts of it, like from like where probably learn about the history of it as well maybe, and I just know how it became like what people did to make esports a thing, and just learn about the culture and really everything about it.
Especially on the business side too.
Yeah, business side as well.
I think college esports is kind of the next thing, but um because of how accessible. Well, first thing, you get to play video games in college competitively. Like that's cool. At least you doing two birds on one stone.
Mhm.
You know, if the thing doesn't work out, then boom. You know, you at least get a college degree out of it. But it's also been growing. I think this is kind of the best way for kids to do it because knowing that, we mentioned you don't have the lowered age standards yet, where you get to compete at 16, or that's the big thing. So having that college option where, you it's 18, you didn't get your opportunity to get into pro league or at least challenger league or any kind of competitive league that has an organization that pays you money. It's a very underrated method. I know you don't get paid in college. Um, with I don't think you get paid in being in college esports, but I rather take the opportunity to just say, okay, I'm getting a college degree out of it. I'm playing competitive video games. I like, you know, there's a benefit to this, you know, with going the amateur route, not going to college. Again, one screw up could have you on the streets. Not performing could have you in the streets immediately. Of Because again, you're too late to apply for college that semester and start something. So that's where I have to go with it. Next question I have for you is what concerns slash promises do you what concerns slash promises do you have with the console scene for amateur players? So any game that is based on console, what concerns slash um I don't know, I want to say promises, benefit, like what's good about,
Well,
what is
pros and
bad
cons.
about the college, what is, yeah, pros and cons of, that makes sense, sorry.
So I think yeah, pros and cons with the console scene is really with the console scene. Obviously, doesn't have that much exposure because most of the competitive games will happen on PC. But I think people underestimate how good PC players are. No, sorry, not PC players, console players are. So, for example, the Tech 10 squads who are currently trying to qualify for Challenger League, I think at least 3 or 4 of them came off console scene first. They played in season 1 of the UK Rainbow Six Siege Premiership, and then they transferred to the PC scene once after season 1, and they've been obviously they've been practicing and practicing for a good couple of years, and now they're like some of the best players currently in the Challenger League qualifiers. They've only lost once out of I think 9 games, and there's only one other team that is doing better than them, who have won all 9 of them, 9 of the round 1 qualifiers, and it just proves that you don't have to come be straight on PC to be the best. You can come from Xbox, you can come from anything, but as long as you put practice into it, you can become one of the best players in the competitive scene.
What cons do you have with them? Or was it like
And cons, yeah, and cons, it's just really with cons, it's the console scene. The cons are it's lots of people that use mouse and keyboard. Like mouse and keyboard is a big thing on, especially Rainbow Six Siege. So it's a big thing because it gives you the advantage of what a, let's say, a mouse and keyboard user would have. So you can do massive 360s. You can control recoil like a beast, and then compared to a controller, it's basically cheating because you're using a third party device that mimics a controller, but your system doesn't know that it's a mouse and keyboard that you're using. And it's one of the massive things also in the competitive scene because you get people that will abuse it because it's very hard to prove, especially with ESL. It's very hard to prove because it takes a long time to actually get any sort of action on it. And was also in this game as well was DDoSing as well. DDoSing was, I think, if DDoSing stayed on console and didn't go to PC as well, Ubisoft would have taken longer to try and resolve it because obviously PC you got more exposure on there because you got the big YouTubers, pro players, and everything. But it's like they kind of neglect the console scene sometimes, and especially with the DDoSing situation that happened last year. But since bans came out and everything for DDoSers, it's been very, very low. I haven't encountered any DDoSers since the bans were taking place, so that was good.
I think I'll start with the cons. I think the con with the console scene is, yeah, I like how you kind of mentioned the disadvantage of, like, people can cheat their way out by playing, having a mouse and keyboard and controller. I think that's one thing, but I think the big disadvantage is that's not where esports is. A lot of there's a couple popular esports that evolve around console. Um, Rocket League, Call of Duty, Gears of War, those are some of the ones I know that really make console. But again, the big advantage you need is a PC, especially in games like Fortnite where it's a totally big advantage. CSGO, they only have it, and it's only a piece, basically a PC-based game. Rainbow Six, they only have a Rainbow Six Pro League, they're not having anything else. League of Legends, Dota, they're all PC based, and that's the problem. Is there's not a lot of like besides Call of Duty and Rocket League, if there's ever a tournament, there isn't a lot of exposure. Like, unless there isn't a lot of, it just isn't popular as the PC scene. So, but the cons is I think they have a lot more learning opportunities. The big thing about, like, Call of Duty hosts a lot of lanes, like open bracket lanes, so you can prove yourself. So Call of Duty, Gears of War, those are some games I know where they actually have open brackets, so you can have these amateur players come up, go travel to this location, play on LAN, and prove themselves in the open bracket. At least you get to play at the tournament, like play at the venue, and that's one thing. Piece Actually, I'll explain it later, but that's a big advantage there because, again, it's a lot easier to set up. You just get consoles. You need a controller. That's it. You don't need like 20 billion PCs. Like you just need a simple equipment, and that's where I feel like console kind of has a superior thing because of the more opportunities to compete in LANs for those amateur players and all that. Now, next thing I have for you is what are the pros and cons for the PC scene for amateur players? Like,
PC scene, so I'd say pros. Obviously, that's where most of the esports scene is on PC for most games. And with PC, I would say it's kind of more competitive in a way because you've got people that have obviously like gone out of the way to buy a PC just to play, say, a game competitively sometimes. And then obviously a big con is just the hacking situation on Siege PC is outrageous at the moment. I've spoken to some friends I've got on PC and they've apparently ran into lots of hackers like just within a couple of games. So you could have, especially closet cheaters as well. There's a lot of closet cheaters as well. And Ubisoft they need to either change their anti-cheat software, need to change to a different anti-cheat software, or Battle.ai need to at least try and like improve their software because apparently what's happened was what's happened is that when Apex Legends came out, apparently there was a bypass that would basically make you make you invisible to Battle.ai if you're cheating. And because of that, and because Siege had that same bypass, people have started to be hacking a lot more on Siege. And I can see it because I remember back when Siege PC, back before Apex Legends came out on PC, X PC Siege, the hackers were not there wasn't as many hackers as there was, let's say, well, as there was today. Because yeah, that's really it, and it's really weird because I don't know how two different games from two completely different companies could have the same problem, like the same like somehow bypass that makes that affects one game very badly and doesn't really affect the other one as much. Because I don't really follow the Apex Legends team on PC, so I really don't know how the cheat situation is. But all I know is that ever since Apex Legends came out on PC, hackers and Siege have been going up a lot.
I think I'll start with the pros again, but I think pro is again you have that competitive nature. A lot of the people are switching to PC. It's been your popular games are on PC. Your games that make you a lot of decent amount of salary are based on PC. So that's where you gotta go with the benefit. There's a lot of games that are very competitive on PC, like are PC based competitively. The bad thing is, yeah, I like how you mentioned the hacking thing because that's a big, kind of a big concern in a lot of games where it happens in competitive matches. And, it seems odd. You feel like you play like a champion, or you feel like you're a top tier player, but your rank doesn't really show it because of how many times you've got hacked and such. So that's where you kind of go with it. But also just kind of the land structure is they don't have a lot of. You have to prove yourself online. That is you have to prove yourself a lot of times online. It's because you don't have a lot of those LAN events, those open bracket LAN events. Like you go to talking about Rainbow again. You got OGAs, Allied. Those are teams that get invited, and those are all basically pro teams, or like top tier Challenger League teams. So you don't really. And that sucks. And the only ways you can try to prove yourself is through those GO4s, which are online, which can be hacked. I don't know with the Battle.ai thing if they have that enabled.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're gonna hack in ESL, gonna be very smart about it because obviously ESL use their own separate anti-cheat ESL while, and you have to have that. You have to have that to make sure. Yeah, you have to have that if you're gonna play. You have to have ESL wire on PC, and you have to have it activated during the game, or otherwise, I think your team gets disqualified. I think your team gets disqualified if you don't have it on.
So that's where you gotta go with the issue with that. Um, Next question I have for you is also this is recently happened. Also, what do you think of teams that do get promoted to the pro slash main league from amateur teams switching up the roster for the players to play the first match?
It's very that one is. I think if they got forced out, so say if they got forced out of the team, if they got forced out of the team and they wanted to stay in the team, that should not be the case. It should be them saying, I don't want to be in this team anymore because of X, Y, Z, and then they can leave the team and then you can make up roster changes. Because I can tell Panix probably didn't want to leave BDS, but I think he either got kicked out, he got forced to say, he got forced to leave because of something stupid. So it's really just, it's just actually just, if you're gonna kick someone out of the team, you've got to make sure that there's an actual valid reason, not because you just had some stupid argument about, yeah, you just had some stupid argument because about indifferences. You should have like an actual reason that if say like a viewer that has never played these before and asks why did this person leave, they will understand why they left and why like that action was taken.
I Yeah, I think it's just kind of disrespectful. I think there has to. I think there should be um basically a new rule that should be implemented where you have to play like for. I'm gonna go with United situation. Um, that former Obey Challenger League roster, they shitted on the Challenger League scene. They won easily to beat Sonics 2-0 in the relegation match, and they drop a player because they drop Abenai and Fozo because they wanted a bigger, because of what United offered or what the rogue situation was at the time. So they picked up at the end, they kept Forrest, Grixer, and Kala. And, they kept those players on there. But they picked up Afama and Yeti. Currently Reed at the moment because of visa issues for Alphama, but I think should just wait it out. I think, yeah, you got that big offer. You get two players that should be a big upgrade, a big help for your team, but at least test out how your team is just see how your team is performing through like the first 7 weeks. Like with, since you guys play together, you might as well stay together and just kind of improve over the time. Instead, you have a big disadvantage because the roster isn't fully, it's a fairly new roster in cases. Other teams have months to practice. If they keep that same roster, they already have a upper edge on you. And it still does. I don't know. Just doesn't make sense. And then where you play with that roster the whole time and you just drop it, just because and a lot of teams do make money offers, but they do force people to drop players. As kind of with the United situation. So I don't know. I think there has to be a rule change where I think if you get promoted to Challenger League, your roster sticks. But I don't think they're gonna include anything like that in the future. Next question I have for you is, why do you think the why do you think why do you think teams are not investing into young talent? Instead, they are tending to cycle between veteran slash experienced professionals in some games. Oh shit.
I just left the party. I don't know why.
Did you hear the United situation?
Well, the Eunice situation. I think with Eunice, probably will go to secret. He probably will.
No, I said United situation where they made that
Oh
roster
yeah,
change.
yeah. They got a farmer from France. Yeah. Could have. It was all. I think just for that situation, I think it might have. It was very debatable. I don't know. It was just weird. Cause I only found out really about the farmer thing. I think it was when they announced it. Cause I knew United were. I've had a feeling that United would like join the siege, like just join siege in general. But I thought with like maybe like an EU team. That's why I thought maybe like an EU team, not an NA team. Cause
Sorry, I was talking about like the roster move where they actually dropped, the roster that was formerly Obey Alliance in the Challenger League,
yeah,
and they cruised through it, and then they dropped two players because of the United situation where they would have got a bigger contract. That was kind of what I was
that's just
explaining.
that's stupid. That is just that just shows that the power of just like money and contracts. It shows the power because if it say if they didn't drop that, I think that if say yeah, so basically for example, if they didn't drop that, they might me still maybe be under Obey, but because they dropped two players just to get how much was what was the difference between the two contracts?
I don't think they even
Like
got paid.
if we
I
know.
don't think they got paid much on their Obey, but United, they're a really well-known organization. They have money on their backside
Yeah,
because
I
they have
think
investors, unlike Obey.
yeah, I think because of it's really money can change everything. The money can change. It's like with soccer. It's like soccer and football. Money can change everything. You could have. I think I can't remember. I think when Manchester United bought Pogba, I can't remember how much it was for, but I knew that if oh no, Cristiano Ronaldo probably might have never left Madrid because he's very expensive. But Juventus went out of the way, bought Ronaldo for probably like so much money that it's just unbelievable. Money can change everything about money can change everything, and even if you add on like say for example, um, United were under a base still and they got paid 1,000 per paid 1,000 per month. If
No, it's higher.
United,
That's a lot higher.
I know, just it's just an example. Um,
Yeah.
if say if United added on a couple of zeros to the end of it, like say if it went from 1,000 to 100,000, let's say it's just example here, that would change everybody's just like opinion and just say instead of wanting to stay with Obey, would go to United because it gives you. I want to say it's like you're securing like a bit of your financial future because if you're getting paid 100,000 a month, that's a lot of money, a lot of money, and you could retire, let's say after a couple of years, and you'd have so much money that you would not need to work, you would not need to do anything, or you would not need to do anything, and that's just the power of money. Even with inflation going up and everything, the power of money can change everybody's life. That's why we have so much corruption in the world as well. Yeah.
It's still a hard situation. I think
Yeah.
he should have given that play 7 games, and after Invitational they do make roster changes. You should give them that privilege where they can make, they should not allow Challenger League teams to get dropped back into Challenger League. It's fine if it's not a bad situation if they go from, they get promoted and then they get picked up by a different pro team, but they should not be left in the dust, to get dropped from the roster that just got promoted. You just got a big job opportunity, you're going to get a big contract, but you should not drop any players just because of, of what organization says, okay, we'll pick you for you, but you have to drop the other two. And because we want to upgrade, we want to come at advantage, but that's, in a Siege, you have to learn. It's like every other game. It's like a fully new roster. It's a very unexperienced roster, but if you keep working and grinding, you have a chance to be in the top. And I don't think just switching up 2 players because of money and all that is the big difference. It shouldn't be the full value. And hopefully Abanai and Fozo do get picked up in the future, or they make it through Challenger League this season again, and hopefully don't get dropped. Next question I have for you is, why do you think teams are not investing in young talent? Why do you think teams are not investing in young talent? Instead they tend to cycle between veterans / experienced professionals who do get rusty.
Yeah,
in the scene.
I think it's just purely maybe because obviously if you're going for an amateur player, they're not really as known. And say for example there's a player that's the free agent, so really you don't really need to buy that player out. If say for example, so with our farmer, I think he was cheap to buy out because 1, he wasn't under any team because he got kicked out of Vodafone Giants, now Rogue. 2, he I think at the time I think he didn't make that much content, because content is another big thing as well, especially even with pro players. If you make a lot of content, you're going to be worth more, and when you're worth more, obviously it's going to be it's going to be like very expensive to buy that person out. So when that happens, it's purely
I know.
it's just
Oh my god, they're eating headshots.
I'm gonna get flanked.
Oh. See if he clutches us.
Yeah.
Then we go back in the conversation.
Okay, so yeah, about that. So it's literally, with E United, if you make content, you're gonna be worth way more. And let's say for example, if yeah, so with our farmer didn't make content, was kicked out of his team, so he wasn't worth that much anyway for to buy out, and it was kind of an easy pick. And especially with NA, if you bring an EU person in the team, it kind of builds up the team, because at least you got somebody who may be experienced.
Plays in the toughest region.
Yeah, because 1 is the toughest region, and 2, when you go to lands, at least you've got somebody that knows a bit about that team. So, and because obviously with EU and NA, it depends on where you are. So say if you're East US, if you're Eastern US, you could scrim EU players, just like the ping is bearable. But say if you're central or like the south coast, your ping will just be too high to just, at least not even like to play on EU servers. It's just too high. It'll just be too high. You just get kicked out of the games and everything, and then it'll just not work. So and especially NA players, well, every single player has to rely on VODs. VODs are there to obviously bots are there for like obviously the public to watch matches back, but also there for pro teams to make counter strats, strategies around that person, um, and everything. And personally, I think that if you're going to be playing, hold on, what wait played? No, yeah, I think. Hold on, so silly questioning. I just lost where I was. I've got so much to think about right now.
Uh, I
What's the question? Okay.
I think I kind of know why they don't invest a lot in younger players. I think just because of the in my I was saying when I said in the past, I think it's because of maturity. Because they don't know how serious it gets now when you get they first thing is they haven't played against tougher competition in the past. So they haven't played against those experienced pros yet, consistently. Like, like other teams. And that's where I think why they don't invest in younger players too much. Even if the talent online, you feel like they're a big advantage. They don't have a lot of out of them. I think that's a big advantage. I think if you get in amateur players, a lot of times because they don't have a lot of VOD, you can really watch off to kind of determine the talent.
And also, I
But
think, yeah, and I think what Bolo, because obviously Bolo went from ranked straight into Pro League. And with that, I think that he didn't have time to. He played on his 18th birthday, and yeah, so he played on his 18th birthday, and he had no time to adjust. So he went from being a ranked star basically to going being into Pro League, and that's the most competitive scene in Siege, especially in NA is competitive, and you could see that it took him a couple of games to adjust to just playing the Pro League theme because obviously, in my opinion, ranked is way different than ESL and Pro League. With Pro League, at least you're thinking about what your actions would have. So, say for example, with Pro League, you wouldn't overpeak. You wouldn't overpeak. You would hold angles, let them come to you, especially on defense. With ranked, you're peeking everything. You're peeking everything. You're running around like a mad person and quick peeking everything. And you could see that Bolo was still in that mindset. But when he went into Pro League, you could tell that he was adjusting. And by the time it came to the Raleigh Major, you could see that he had enough of an adjustment to make a big impact on all the games he got. I remember DreamHack Montreal got an ace. His team won. His team won DreamHack Montreal. Now they're going to invitationals in a month now, and that just shows that you can go from a rank star to a pro league to run to a amazing pro league player, but one you've got to learn how to adjust just to everything, and also like working with your team. Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard. Especially, well, I think it's a good thing you said that because again, first thing, you're a young player, so you can't, you're a young player, inexperienced in that top tier level. So you don't know how you're gonna play off the start because again, it's not like the lower level leagues where you can think it will work. You think it works here because how easy it was for you to get play through that. Um, to how easy it was to play for that. But once you get into like a kind of a bigger scene, there's gonna be a lot more complex strategies. It's gonna be tougher tougher opponents. Overall, there's gonna be times where you have to be, timing is everything. Some situations. So there's just a lot that I think pro players really need to, especially for the amateur players, they need to realize immediately. Otherwise, being a hyped up amateur could not work because of how idiotic you sometimes play because you think this is Bush League, or you think this is back to the minor league again? So that's where you have your biggest advantage, I think, for the amateur players. But again, I think, especially with this scene getting younger and younger, it's new fresh blood. That's where I think you have the big advantage with this scene. I think you produce new fresh blood and people that you think can actually make a difference, have the same talent to be such a difference maker, even if they have that lack of kind of experience off the rip. You know, they have something to prove. And they, again, how I mentioned earlier in amateur players, they are hungry to win, they are hungry to prove something. So that's kind of what you want out of a new fresh blood player right there. Some sort of energy that maybe your team didn't have in the past. So next question I have for you. Wait a second. Wait, let me. Oh, okay, sorry. Next question I have for you is, from the games you have watched, which game do you think has the best and worst amateur system currently?
Damn. Okay. Best and worst amateur system. I think Siege offers a lot of like people chances to play somewhat competitively. So you obviously got your com cups, you've got go fours, but obviously there's the age barrier with that. And then so it's all right. So that's a show and it's an all right scene. But when you get into say, kind of think CS, I don't know about that because I don't really follow the scene that much. But when I watch, let's say like I am Intel Extreme Masters, like I am categories. I've seen that it's really most of those players don't look like they're brand new. They look like they've been there since probably like maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. And yes, they have a challenger league, but they really don't have anything else outside of that. It's really just you got your cum cups and that's it. But and especially with amateur system, you have to be in CS. You have to be one of the you have to be beasts. You have to be a beast to at least get to at least have a team look at you and say, "Hey, we're gonna try you out. We're gonna see how you are in like say a scrim or compare on a really high competitive level." And I would say out of I can see why CS go for veteran players instead of younger players because obviously they are not used to being under so much pressure, and two, veteran players know how it feels to be in a game where you are under enormous amounts of stress, pressure, and with your team, with that team, you can really do what you want, and you're already used to probably how they play already.
We, ah, I think I can't go at Rainbow with the best scene. I think one scene that was in Call of Duty, but I don't know. This one's hard. I think Rocket League. This might be interesting, but they have a lot of new introduced players every couple seasons, and he's down there. But I think that's where you kind of go with it because again they have a lot of young talent. They know how to invest. They have those relegations. They have a lot of young talent in the scene consistently. So that helps kind of prove the amateur system because you can be as young as possible, especially with maybe like a 15, 16 year old. You get to play esports competitively. Sweet. So it's nice that you have advantage at such a young age. I kind of consider League of Legends as the worst scene because of how old the game is. I think if the game, I guess I'm gonna see that caffeine trap. Um, I think as the game gets older and older, um, just say League of Legends. This is 10 years right, 10 years old right now. CS, it's about like 8 or 9. It's hard. It's harder to get into those new talents with this experienced game. But if it's like a new fresh game, like you go Fortnite, Apex Legends, you know, they are looking for talent immediately. So it's a lot. If you play that game really good at the start, it's a big advantage. But if you play those, you got League of Legends and CS:GO. They have the game has been very heavily developed off the rip. So it's really hard to recognize the talent skill. Like, find a new talent that you feel like can introduce some new strategies and all that. So that's kind of why I feel like that scene doesn't work well. Like if those games are more experienced, but if you got a new fresh game, or you got a game where you can have youngsters, very deep challenger league system, yeah, like a minor league system, I think it works best. And last question after you before we get to the closing topic. For an amateur player in any game, how do you make it to the top? Like, what do you do to make it to the top?
Practice. It's pure practice. So every day, I would say every day, I would wake up. Well, not every day. Every weekend or every day that I'm on holiday and don't have anything to do, I would come on. I would get up, eat breakfast, have a shower, put on some new fresh clothes, and then I would be on siege by at least 10, 11 o'clock. I would run that until maybe 3 o'clock. Give myself a little 1 hour, 2 hour break just to keep my stamina up, and I'll go back on go back on siege until 7, 8 o'clock, and then for the rest of the day, for the rest of that evening or night, I would either keep on playing siege, or I'd just go and play another game, or just watch Netflix or something. So at least I've got a time table, like a general timetable of how my day is when I'm playing Siege, and then probably at 7 o'clock as well, I'd have like dinner, and I'd always have at least a bottle of water near me, or some sort of drink and snack just near me. So if I get like peckish, I would just have a drink or just have something to eat. So you just keep your energy levels up and everything. And also, it's about try and find a squad that you can get along with and are decent. So you don't want to be safe. You get on with people, but they're copper, bronze, silver. They will probably drag you down. They'll drag you down. So just like play, you can play like unranked with them. They can be like your offline friends, like non-competitive friends. But but you gotta find the balance. You gotta find the balance where you get along with these people, so you got a good kind of chemistry, and they are at least decent. They are gold, minimum gold up, because there are some alright gold players out there. And you just get along with each other. And then you just talk about roles, strats. Just talk about really anything that you need to work on in Siege, and then also do a lot of tournaments, like whenever you can. So do com cups, go fours, and if you're on PC and you're all over 18, go for China League, and if you're in the UK, go for Premiership. Go for that, because at least you're getting the experience of everyone, and you can get exposed, and you're exposed to other teams that may want to pick you up, and it could help you in your future as an esports player, and just really expose your name as a good player in Rainbow Six.
Nice. So I'm not gonna kind of explain my side of it, but I think it's just kind of. I think I'll explain mine. I think for an amateur player, I think just kind of. Yeah, it's nice that you have a routine, so you know what business you have to get done and how you want to spend the time dedicating to a video game. You know, you take breaks to make sure you don't get relieved just in case you get stressed out or punked out. But I think I like just learning is the thing. I think learn new strats, watch. This might be unrealistic in Siege because it's different from the PC, but watch how, like, if you play a certain operator and it's consistently shown in like a pro league setting, or like if you play with a team of five and you consistently, but you don't know what you're doing wrong on this map, maybe watch a pro league vlog of VOD. I know it's gonna look totally different because some of these rotations won't work in a ranked setting, like how they play and all that. But kind of watch how they play those operators, how they play as a team, what positions they are, why are they in the positions. Learn from that, and then just prove on like trying to include pro league strats in there, make it look confusing. Like get creative, like as a team, get creative, and also as you get creative as a player because more creativity will will challenge will challenge opponents' mind. It will make it hard for them, and it'll make it a lot easier for you. And also just kind of networking is a big thing too. Making sure that you kind of if you want to get top on a top GO4 team, try to put some maybe make a small highlight tape, proving that either through plat-based ranked matches where you kind of make some clutch plays, or if you do any kind of sort of scrims, like show that you have experience like through leaderboards and like see how you did in actual scrims against top tier players. It will help you get in those G4 teams. And for it's kind of for like any game, just kind of watching VODs, seeing how just the creativity factor is going to be the big thing. How could you make yourself stand out as a player, unlike the other players that are having that same drive as you? Because if you can't stand out, it's going to be hard. Or you can't prove as your top. You can stand out, but you can't prove yourself as top. You need to prove yourself as a top talent too. Um, so that's kind of what the big thing is. So for the closing topic question, what are your future plans regarding your esports career?
So with mine, I'm moving to PC, so I can obviously play um, on the actual competitive base instead of going on Xbox. And I'll just be trying to find a team that are, well, some of them are underaged, obviously, and then we'll just try and just improve our games, just try and improve ourselves, and when we're and try and find outside tournaments that allow under 18s to play. And then once I'm 18, yeah, so once I'm 18, I'll obviously start playing lots of Go Fours, lots of Com Cups. Um, and obviously I'll try and qualify for Premiership, Challenger League, and everything else, and just really trying to get my name exposed out there as much as I can, so I can obviously get to the top and try and turn pro if I can, or maybe just go as a content creator as a backup plan.
That's nice. So thank you for joining me on the show this morning. Um,
Mona.
London. Do you want to give any shouts before we end it off?
Shout out to Tech 10. Hope you lot make it into Challenger League.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll keep up with them, and hopefully they make it through on the EU side. The EU.
Okay.
Well, thanks for joining me on the show, Unpaid. That's going to be on the show. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube video. And have any comments? Yeah. And for the comments section for the YouTube video, give me suggestions for topics that I'll cover. And so that's going to be it. Bye.